According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 73,000 jobs were added in July. That's well below expectations. But July's weak numbers were just the tip of the iceberg. Some economists are pointing to a larger issue, with the government now saying their previously released job numbers were way off in May and June. They're revising those totals down by a combined 258,000 jobs. President Trump took to Truth Social criticizing that jobs report. He said that he is directing his team to fire the head of the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, an administration official confirming to NBC News that she has been fired.
Señores, Donald Trump acaba de entrar en pánico total. Él dice que la economía está en su mejor momento, pero al parecer ahora los números nos dicen otra cosa. Y cuando esos números no lo favorecen, ¿qué es lo que hace? Culpar a alguien más. Así es, señores, la jugada de Trump es culpar a la realidad por no ajustarse a su fantasía. El día de hoy, viernes, acaba de salir un nuevo informe de empleo. Y amigos, es un golpe brutal para Trump. Solo se crearon 73,000 empleos en julio. Hablamos de que está muy por debajo de las expectativas, pero ojo que eso no fue lo peor. El verdadero escándalo vino cuando se revisó los datos de mayo y de junio, y se descubrió que se habían inflado más de 258,000 empleos. Así es, señores. Junio pasó de 147,000 a solo 14,000 empleos, y mayo de 144,000 a apenas 19,000 empleos. Un desastre total.
And we've got some breaking news. The July jobs report was released just moments ago, and it shows that the United States added 73,000 jobs last month. That is less than the 100,000 that economists had expected. The unemployment rate saw a slight increase to 4.2%. The report also revealed job totals for June and May were revised much lower, down a combined 258,000 from the previous announced levels. That's significant. Joining us now, NBC News senior business analyst and host of the 11th Hour, our friend Stephanie Ruhle. Steph, seems like a pretty bad news report. Outside of healthcare and a couple other sectors, job market actually shrinking, and certainly this didn't meet expectations.
Absolutely not. Healthcare and service jobs. That's where we actually saw hiring. And where didn't we? Manufacturing. So that's what I really want to focus on, because there's been all this talk that, look, the president made these tariff announcements a few months ago and the economy still held. Well, what the economy has done is braced itself, like waiting for tariffs to hit, which, as you know, is going to happen now. And this idea that we're going to bring back these manufacturing jobs, they're not happening. So the interesting thing is, okay, well, if the jobs picture is worsening, are we potentially going to get a rate cut, right? Could that be back on the table in September? Well, maybe if you look at the jobs picture. But the thing is, Jonathan, the main reason why we haven't and might not get that rate cut is because of these tariffs and all of the uncertainty and problems it's causing, not just for countries and economies around the world, but what the tariffs are doing is hurting the U.S. economy, U.S. companies, and eventually the U.S. consumer. And if we're looking at the jobs picture as bad as it is, and now the U.S. consumer is bracing itself for higher prices, that's not a good picture.
Yeah, and on tariffs, the president announced a sweeping new set of them that will take effect next Thursday after several countries failed to strike a deal. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake has more.
President Trump making good on his threat to impose what he's called reciprocal tariffs on nearly every nation, with the White House announcing sweeping import tax rates ranging from 10 to 50%, set to take effect in 7 days. In a phone interview overnight, the president noting the more than $26 billion in tariff revenue the Treasury Department reported last month, and predicting, quote, "We will be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars and very quickly."
Y es que lo más increíble, señores, es que ni siquiera Fox pudo defender a Trump. María Bartiromo leyó los datos al aire y sus invitados quedaron en shock.
The Nasdaq down about 200, going 73,000 jobs. 73,000 jobs created in the month of July. Number just coming out.
And that's total.
4.2% of the unemployment rate, right in line with expectations. Here are the numbers. For the month of July, jobs came in at 73,000. That was lower than the expectation, which called for 110,000 jobs. The unemployment rate right in step with expectations at 4.2%. Steve Moore, your reaction.
Look, I think this is all a result, this disappointing number is a result of all the turmoil over tariffs and the trade wars.
Aunque intentaron culpar a Jerome Powell, todos saben que el responsable es Trump. Su política comercial, su caos económico, la guerra con las estadísticas. ¿Cuál es la solución de Trump ante todo este desastre? Pues amigos, despedir a la jefa de la Oficina de Estadísticas Laborales, que recordemos que fue nombrada por Biden. Es la misma que tuvo la osadía de publicar la verdad. Donald Trump la acusó de manipular los datos para ayudar a Kamala Harris y a Biden, sin pruebas y sin vergüenza. Y anunció, es más, que la va a reemplazar por alguien que refleje mejor realidad. O sea, alguien que invente números positivos.
I want to get to some breaking news just into us right now. The same day as those dismal jobs numbers came out, Donald Trump is firing the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, accusing the commissioner of faking the jobs numbers in a Truth Social post. Today's report not only included lower than expected numbers for the month of July, but huge downward revisions for June and May, as we've been discussing. Back with us now, NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba on a busy day. Monica, what else is the president saying in that post?
Yeah, so this is significant, Ariel, because literally we were just talking about this a matter of moments ago, the fact that obviously when the White House and when the president specifically doesn't like the economic reports that are coming out, he bashes them, and when he does, he touts them. That's nothing new. He's been doing that since his first term and first 4 years in office and in the last 6 months or so. But what's significant about this new post on his social media platform is that he is specifically calling out Dr. Erica McIntyre, who is the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, and he is accusing her of faking the jobs numbers before the election to try and boost former Vice President and former Democratic National nominee Kamala Harris's chances of victory. He goes on and on to talk about specifically some past jobs reports and is saying that he has directed his team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. Now, I'm told by an administration official that that has happened. I'm told again that she has been relieved of her post, and according to the president's own words here, he is saying she will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified. He also goes on to say important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes. So this is a very lengthy post. This is, again, I think, a reflection more than anything else of the president's displeasure when he wants to be touting what he sees as the bright spots in the economic picture and wants to really downplay those that show a more weakening labor market and some of these other concerns about possible inflation. And again, all of this is being raised by his own trade war and by these own tariff moves that he is putting into place that are raising a lot of questions about what it will mean for consumers ultimately that contribute to some of this data and some of these indications. So that's the latest from here, and we're working on more information to see who might replace her. This is a position that is Senate confirmed, and so the question now is whether there's somebody in the interim who will serve in that role in an acting capacity. Unclear who that replacement and who the next person will be in this job with the Department of Labor and who will oversee these labor statistics. Ariel.
And Trump also going after Fed Chair Jerome Powell as well, saying the economy is booming under Trump despite a Fed that also plays games. So we're just getting a taste of how irritated the president is by those job numbers and by the lack of movement by the Fed. Monica, thank you, as always, for staying on top of it.
Porque claro, si no controlan los números, podrán controlar la narrativa. Ya no importa si el desempleo sube o si nadie está contratando. Lo que importará será lo que diga el gráfico, aunque esté manipulado. Y ojo con esto porque algo gracioso sucedió luego de esto, y es que el vicepresidente J.D. Vance publicó en X celebrando que los trabajadores nativos están ganando empleos y que los inmigrantes lo están perdiendo. Todo esto basado en los mismos datos de este informe. ¿Qué hizo Donald Trump horas después? Dijo que esos datos eran una farsa. O sea, ¿en qué quedamos? ¿Son buenos o son falsos? Parece que ni dentro de MAGA se ponen de acuerdo. El problema, señores, no es el informe. Es que la economía de Trump se está desmoronando y él no puede aceptarlo. En vez de arreglarlo, quiere cambiar la historia. Quiere manipular, quiere despedir, quiere reescribir, quiere mentir. Cuando hasta Fox se queda sin excusas, es porque ya no hay narrativa que aguante los datos reales.
That's definitely the case, Jonathan. The jobs number, as you and Reverend Sharpton were just discussing, is really weak. The last 2 months, 35,000 new jobs each month. That compares with last year. The average was 168,000 jobs every month last year. Donald Trump inherited what was the strongest economy in the world, and by chaos and tariffs, he's really running it aground. The tariff situation, as you point out, and as Stephanie was pointing out, it raises costs on everyday products. You're going to see a stair step up when you do your back to school shopping, and another step up when you're doing your Thanksgiving shopping, and then another one when you're doing your Christmas shopping. This is a season where Americans buy a lot of stuff in these kind of, communal seasonal events, and people are going to really get socked. And then the businesses around Virginia that I talked to, this tariff situation really impacts them, from the bakery that gets all their pie tins, aluminum pie tins from Canada, to our largest manufacturers that use products like aluminum, steel, copper. Costs are going up in our businesses. The retaliation against our businesses is hitting the ag sector. And then finally, a third part of the tariffs is kind of the reputational damage. You just have Canadians, for example, that are just really mad at Donald Trump and the United States, and so they're foregoing buying U.S. products like Jack Daniels or visiting places like Virginia Beach for their summer holidays. This is a bad situation, and that's why I'm joining with my colleagues as often as I can to try to repeal this tariff madness and hopefully find some Republican colleagues who'll stand up for their constituents instead of caving to Donald Trump.
And Senator Kaine, what's so striking about these tariffs is just how personal and political President Trump has at times made them. And I know what he's trying to do with Brazil in particular has caught your attention.
Brazil, get this, guys, we have a trade surplus with Brazil. So Donald Trump's whole thing is we got to do these tariffs because these nations aren't buying enough U.S. stuff and we have trade deficits. We have a trade surplus with Brazil, but President Trump has announced a 50% tariff. Why? Because they don't like the fact that Brazil is prosecuting a friend of his for corruption in an attempt to overturn the election. And he's using an emergency.
Pero bueno, amigos, ¿qué piensan ustedes? ¿Creen que Trump está tratando de cocinar los números para engañar al país? ¿O simplemente ya no soporta que la realidad lo contradiga? Los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en la caja de comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Recuerda, como siempre, dale like, comparte el video y suscríbete al canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video.